My wife booked a girls' trip with our emergency fund. The airline logs and card statements met her attorney. My wife booked a girls' trip with our emergency fund. The airline logs and card statements met her attorney. But before any of that, there was the moment I discovered the missing money. I was paying bills at the kitchen table when I noticed it, $6,800 gone from our emergency fund. The account we'd built together over 3 years, untouched except for true emergencies. "Lena," I called out, keeping my voice steady. "Do you know what happened to the emergency money?" She appeared in the doorway, coffee cup in hand, her expression carefully neutral. "Oh, that. I had to use it for bills. You know, the usual stuff." But her tone wavered. Just slightly. Enough for me to notice. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I grabbed our shared tablet from the nightstand to check the account again. The screen lit up with a new notification, an email confirmation. "Your flight to Bali has been confirmed. Passenger, Lena Hayes. Departure, March 15th. My heart stopped. Bali. $6,800. And she'd called it bills. I stared at that confirmation until the screen went dark, and something inside me went cold. The next morning, I confronted her at breakfast. "I saw the flight confirmation," I said quietly. "Bali?" Lena barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, that. It's just a girls' trip. I needed a break. You know how stressed I've been. With our emergency fund?" She laughed, actually laughed. "Anthony, calm down. It's not like we're starving. Besides, I earned that money too." Before I could respond, her daughter Sophie walked in. 23 years old, entitled, and perpetually annoyed by my existence in their lives. She'd moved in 6 months ago after needing space from her roommate. "What's his problem now?" Sophie asked, smirking at her mother. "He's upset about my trip," Lena said, rolling her eyes. Sophie scoffed. "Maybe you should have saved more, Anthony. Not everything's about you." The casual cruelty in her voice hit harder than I expected. I was the man who'd paid half her car insurance, who'd welcomed her into our home, who'd never once made her feel like a burden. I said nothing. Just walked out of the kitchen, their laughter following me. That's when I knew, this wasn't just about a trip. I waited until they both left the house. Lena for errands, Sophie for class. Then I sat down at my desk and pulled up our credit card statements. The charges told a story Lena hadn't. $3,200 for the Bali Grand Resort, luxury suite, ocean view. $850 for spa packages. $1,200 for excursions. And then, buried in the airline charges, something that made my blood run cold. 2 plane tickets. Not one. I clicked on the airline booking details. The second passenger name loaded slowly, each second an eternity. Evan Carter. I stared at the screen, hands shaking. Evan Carter, her work friend from the marketing firm. The guy she'd mentioned casually over dinner a few months ago. "He's helping me with a project," she'd said. Super professional. Super professional didn't book couples spa treatments. I screenshot every charge, every confirmation email, every receipt. Saved them in 3 separate locations. Then I sat back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. My wife was going to Bali with another man, using our emergency fund, and calling it a girls' trip. The betrayal was complete. But my response would be calculated. I said nothing. Not yet. The next week, I became the perfect husband. I cooked her favorite meals. I asked about her day. I even helped her pack for Bali with the girls, carefully folding her sundresses while she talked about how excited she was. "You're being so supportive," she said, kissing my cheek. "I love you for understanding." Of course, I replied, smiling. You deserve a break. She had no idea that earlier that day, I'd transferred half our savings, $24,000, into a new account under my name only. No joint access. No notification to her. I'd also made 3 phone calls. The first was to Marcus Chen, a divorce attorney my colleague had recommended. I need to understand my options, I'd said quietly. The second was to our accountant, asking for copies of all financial documents from the past 3 years. The third was to my brother in Seattle. If things go sideways, I'd told him, I might need a place to stay. As Lena zipped up her suitcase, humming happily, I watched from the doorway. She thought she was getting away with it. She had no idea the storm I was preparing. The morning of March 15th, I drove Lena to the airport. She was radiant, excited, almost giddy. I can't wait to just relax, you know. Beach, sun, no stress. You deserve it, I said, keeping my voice warm. At the departure gate, she hugged me. I'll miss you. 2 weeks will fly by. I'm sure it will, I replied. I watched her disappear through security, her carry-on bouncing behind her. Then I walked back to my car, pulled out my phone, and opened the flight tracking app I'd installed. Her flight wasn't going to Bali. According to the airline system, Flight 847 was bound for Malé, the capital of the Maldives. A luxury destination that cost twice what Bali did. She'd lied about the destination too. I sat in the parking garage, engine running, staring at the flight path on my screen. The Maldives. With Evan Carter. Using money we'd saved for real emergencies, medical bills, job loss, disasters. Instead, she'd spent it on an affair. I took a deep breath, saved screenshots of the flight information, and texted my lawyer, she's gone. We can proceed. His response was immediate, gathering everything. Stay calm. Calm. That was exactly what I intended to be. 3 days into Lena's trip, Sophie made her first mistake. I was home early from work, making dinner, when she came downstairs talking on her phone. Yeah, Mom's having an amazing time. No, Anthony doesn't know anything. He's so clueless. She didn't see me standing in the kitchen doorway. What? She continued into the phone. Of course I knew. I helped her hide the credit card bills last month. Mom deserves happiness, you know. She's been stuck with him for too long. My grip tightened on the spatula. Sophie had known. She'd actively helped Lena hide the affair, the charges, the lies. When she finally turned and saw me, her face went pale. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said quietly. She tried to backtrack, but I walked away before she could finish. Upstairs, I locked my office door and called Marcus. My stepdaughter knew, I said. She helped hide evidence. Can we use that? Absolutely, Marcus replied. That's conspiracy to defraud. It strengthens your case significantly. I hung up and stared at the wall. Lena had betrayed me. Sophie had helped her. My heartbreak crystallized into something harder, colder. Ice. The next morning, I drove to meet with David Park, an accountant who'd been a friend since college. I brought a thumb drive containing every financial document from the past 3 years. I need your help analyzing these transactions, I said. Some of them might be problematic. David reviewed the files silently, his expression growing darker. Anthony, this is financial infidelity. She's been siphoning money for months. These aren't just the Maldives charges, look here, and here. He pointed at recurring transactions I'd missed, monthly hotel charges, restaurant bills for 2, expensive gifts I'd never seen. She's been planning this for a while, he said. Can you create a comprehensive report? Something that would hold up legally? Absolutely. Give me 3 days. While David worked, I took the next critical step. I met with an estate attorney and created a trust, transferring our house, my retirement accounts, and investments into a legal structure that listed only my name. Everything Lena thought we owned together was now exclusively mine. The paperwork was filed quietly, legally, irrevocably. When she returned from her trip, she'd discover that the financial landscape had completely changed. And she'd have no one to blame but herself. I needed more than credit card statements. I needed irrefutable proof of who she'd traveled with. Posing as Lena's assistant confirming travel arrangements for reimbursement, I called the airline's corporate line. Yes, I need to verify passenger information for Flight 847 to Male on March 15, I said, using a professional tone I'd perfected in years of client meetings. The agent was helpful. I can send you the travel manifest for those specific booking references. 5 minutes later, my email pinged. 2 passengers, Lena Hayes and Evan Carter. Same booking reference. Same confirmation number. Adjacent seats, 14A and 14B. Hotel reservation attached, 1 suite. 1 king bed. Ocean view. I stared at the document, my hands perfectly steady now. The proof was undeniable, time-stamped, official. My lawyer had told me to gather evidence. I'd just hit the jackpot. I forwarded everything to Marcus with a single line, Exhibit A. His response, "This is airtight. She won't be able to deny anything." I saved 3 copies, then leaned back in my chair. The shock had worn off. Now there was only cold, methodical planning. She'd made her choice. Now she'd live with the consequences. I'd forgotten about our home voicemail system, one of those old landline services Lena insisted on keeping, in case of emergencies. Checking it was routine, something I did weekly. But this time, there was a message. From Lena's number. It wasn't meant for me. The recording was accidental, probably a pocket dial. But what I heard made everything crystal clear. Lena's voice, giggling, "Can't believe he actually bought the girl's trip" story. Evan's voice, muffled, "You said he was naive. He is. God, he's so predictable. Kissed me goodbye at the airport like a puppy. He still thinks I'm at a spa in Bali." More laughter. Then Evan, "When are you going to tell him?" "Tell him what?" "I'll come home, act like nothing happened, and he'll never know. Trust me, Anthony doesn't have the spine to question anything." The message ended. 38 seconds that destroyed any remaining doubt. I listened to it twice, my face expressionless. Then I downloaded the file, converted it to 3 different formats, and forwarded copies to Marcus with the subject line, Exhibit B, voice confirmation of fraud. His reply came within minutes, "Holy shit. This is devastating evidence. Save everything." I stared at my phone. Naive. Predictable. No spine. We'd see about that. March 29, Lena came home tanned, relaxed, and glowing. She dropped her suitcase in the entryway and wrapped her arms around me. "I missed you so much. The trip was exactly what I needed." "You look rested," I said, returning her hug with practiced warmth. "The beaches were incredible. And the spa, oh my God, Anthony, you would have loved it." I wouldn't have, because I wasn't invited. Because she'd been there with Evan. But I just smiled. "I'm glad you had fun." That night, she fell asleep within minutes, jet-lagged and content. I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. She had no idea that in my office safe was a folder containing airline manifests, hotel receipts, voice recordings, and financial reports detailing months of deception. She had no idea that Marcus had already filed preliminary paperwork, waiting only for my signal to proceed. She had no idea that the man she'd called naive and spineless had spent 2 weeks building an airtight legal case that would dismantle her life piece by piece. Tomorrow, I'd play the perfect husband again. But the clock was ticking. And when it stopped, everything she'd taken for granted would disappear. Marcus called 2 days after Lena's return. "We need more documentation. Every lie she tells now is evidence. Can you record conversations? Legally?" I asked. "You're in a one-party consent state. As long as you're part of the conversation, yes." I bought a discreet recording device that synced with my phone. For the next week, I documented everything. How was the trip with the girls? I'd ask over dinner. "Oh, amazing. Sarah and I spent the whole day at the beach. Then Jen joined us for dinner." Lies. Sarah and Jen didn't exist on that trip. Only Evan did. "Where did you stay again?" "This cute little boutique hotel in Ubud. Very zen." Another lie. She'd stayed at a luxury resort in the Maldives, not Bali. Each fabricated answer was recorded, time-stamped, and sent to Marcus. "She's making this incredibly easy," he said during one of our calls. Every false statement is documented evidence of fraud and deception. Meanwhile, David completed his financial analysis. Lena had embezzled over $18,000 from our joint accounts over 8 months. Small withdrawals, disguised purchases, hidden charges, all building toward the Maldives trip. "This is systematic financial betrayal," David wrote in his report. "Premeditated and ongoing. I filed everything meticulously. Naive, she'd called me. We'd see who was really paying attention. I became the husband Lena thought I'd always be, compliant, trusting, easy to manipulate. I bought her flowers on Friday. Took her to her favorite restaurant on Saturday. Held her hand during a movie on Sunday. You've been so sweet lately," she said, kissing my cheek. "I was worried you'd be angry about the money." "Why would I be angry?" I replied. "You deserved that trip." She smiled, relief evident. "I'm so lucky to have you." Behind that smile, I saw everything clearly now, the calculation, the performance, the complete lack of remorse. Meanwhile, Marcus was building our case: financial records, flight manifests, hotel confirmations, voice recordings, documented lies. "We're ready whenever you are," he told me. "The evidence is overwhelming." "Not yet," I said. "Let her feel safe first. Because the fall would hurt more that way." I continued playing my role perfectly. She thought she'd gotten away with it, that her naive husband had accepted her lies without question. Sophie watched our interactions with obvious relief. She'd been nervous since I'd overheard her phone call, but now she relaxed too. They both thought the storm had passed. They had no idea it was gathering strength, ready to tear through their carefully constructed lies. And I was the one controlling when it would hit. Sophie's second mistake came 2 weeks later. She needed to print an assignment, and her laptop was dead. "Can I use yours?" she asked. "Sure, it's in my office," I said casually. What Sophie didn't know was that I'd left a specific folder open on my desktop. A decoy labeled, "Travel Receipts, Personal." Inside were copies of the airline manifests, hotel reservations, and credit card statements, all the evidence I'd gathered. I watched from the hallway as she sat down, moved the mouse, and froze. Her face went white as she clicked through the documents. Her hands started shaking. She pulled out her phone and texted rapidly, panic evident in every movement. 5 minutes later, she rushed out of the office without printing anything. That evening, Lena's behavior changed completely. She was quiet at dinner, watching me carefully. Her phone buzzed constantly, texts from Sophie, I assumed. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. "Fine," she said, but her voice was tight. After dinner, I heard them arguing in the guest room, muffled voices, rising in intensity. I didn't need to hear the words. I knew exactly what had happened. Sophie had told her mother. Lena now knew that I knew. The pretense was over. And the real game was about to begin. Lena stormed into my office the next morning, her face flushed with anger. What the hell is this? She slammed her phone down on my desk, showing screenshots of the travel documents Sophie had seen. I looked up calmly. What's what? You've been spying on me? Going through my private information? That's insane, Anthony. I checked our joint credit card statements, I said evenly. That's not spying. That's basic financial responsibility. You had no right. I had every right. It's our money. Or it was, before you spent it on a luxury vacation with your boyfriend. Her expression shifted, from anger to calculation. You're twisting this. It was a girl's trip. To the Maldives? With Evan Carter? In a couple's suite? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I have the airline manifests, Lena. The hotel reservations. The voice recording of you laughing about lying to me. All of it. Her face went pale. You're recording me? I'm protecting myself. Something I should have done months ago. She switched tactics, her voice turning soft, pleading. Anthony, please. We can work through this. No, we can't. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You stole from us, lied to me, and humiliated me. Now you're going to face the consequences. She straightened, her expression hardening. If you try to divorce me, I'll take everything. The house, the savings, all of it. I smiled then. Actually smiled. You already did, remember? I said quietly. I slid a folder across the desk. The airline logs, by the way. Your attorney might want to see them. Lena left my office and immediately called her attorney, Robert Chandler, a local divorce lawyer with a reputation for protecting women's interests. I know because Marcus had already contacted him. 3 days earlier, Marcus had requested a professional courtesy meeting with Chandler, presenting a summary of our evidence, financial records, proof of adultery, voice recordings, documented lies. Your potential client, Marcus had explained, has engaged in systematic fraud against her spouse. If she retains you, you'll be defending the indefensible. Chandler, being a smart attorney, had thanked Marcus for the heads-up. So when Lena called him that afternoon, crying about her abusive husband who was threatening her, Chandler listened patiently. Then he said, Mrs. Hayes, I've reviewed some preliminary information about your case. I'm afraid I have a conflict of interest and cannot represent you. What? Why? I can't discuss the details, but I recommend you seek other counsel. She called 3 more attorneys that day. Marcus had contacted all of them. By evening, Lena was desperate, furious, and running out of options. Sophie, overhearing the conversations, looked terrified. I stayed in my office, methodically organizing the final pieces of evidence. The power had shifted completely. And they both knew it. Word spread faster than I'd anticipated. Marcus had filed legal notices as required, formal documentation that had to be served to certain parties. Among them, our mortgage company, our joint credit card companies, and our shared financial institutions. Notifications went out. People started asking questions. Lena's sister called, concerned. Is everything okay? I heard something about legal issues. Lena lied, of course. Anthony's being vindictive. It's nothing. But her friends weren't convinced. Some had seen the Maldives photos Evan had posted on Instagram, photos he'd quickly deleted, but not before screenshots were taken. Photos of Lena, sun-kissed and happy, standing on a beach that definitely wasn't in Bali. "Didn't you say you went to Bali?" one friend asked. We stopped in the Maldives briefly," Lena stammered. The inconsistencies piled up. Friends started comparing notes. Someone remembered meeting Evan from work at a company party. The girl's trip story collapsed under scrutiny. Meanwhile, Sophie became the target of Lena's rage. "You leaked the information," Lena accused. "I didn't. I just told you he knew." "Well, now everyone knows." Their alliance, mother and daughter against the naive husband, fractured completely. I watched it all unfold from a distance, saying nothing, doing nothing. The truth had a momentum of its own now. And it was devastating. 30 days after Lena's return from the Maldives, Marcus filed the divorce papers. Along with them came something Lena hadn't anticipated, an eviction notice. The house, the one she'd assumed was ours, was actually in a trust I'd established. A trust that named only me as beneficiary. Completely legal. Completely binding. "You can't do this," she screamed when the papers were served. "I live here." "You have 30 days, I said calmly. "That's more than generous." Sophie appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "What about me?" I looked at her, this young woman who'd called me boring, who'd helped her mother hide financial betrayal, who'd smirked at my humiliation. "You can go with your mother," I said. "Anthony, please. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just. You were just helping your mother steal from me and lie to me." "Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sure you are. Now." Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't have anywhere to go. You'll figure it out. Your mother did say you should have saved more, remember?" The words landed like a physical blow. Sophie had thrown that exact phrase at me weeks ago. Now it belonged to her. She walked away, shoulders shaking with sobs. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt. Just cold, complete justice. I never intended for the evidence to go public. But David, my accountant friend, had to file certain financial disclosures as part of the divorce proceedings. Those disclosures included the fraud analysis he'd prepared, $18,000 in embezzled funds, systematic deception, breach of fiduciary duty. Legal documents are public record in our county. A local blogger who covered interesting court cases found the filing. The story was too good to ignore. Local woman uses emergency fund for luxury affair, husband produces airline receipts. It went viral in our small town within hours. The comment sections filled. She spent emergency money on what? The audacity to call it a girl's trip, that poor man. He seems so nice. Lena's carefully curated social media presence collapsed. Her Instagram comments exploded with accusations and mockery. "How's Evan?" someone wrote. "Bali looks different from the Maldives. Karma's coming for you." She deleted her accounts by evening, but the damage was done. Her professional reputation suffered too. Colleagues distanced themselves. The perfect wife image she'd maintained was destroyed. I didn't comment publicly, didn't engage, didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The truth spoke for itself, amplified by her own lies. And everyone could see it now. Lena tried calling Evan 3 days after the story broke. He didn't answer. She tried again. And again. On the 4th attempt, she got a text, "Don't contact me anymore. My wife knows everything. You've destroyed my marriage." She stared at her phone, disbelief evident. Evan's wife had found the Instagram photos, the credit card statements, everything. She'd filed for divorce immediately, citing adultery and demanding full custody of their 2 children. Evan had lost his job too. Company policy prohibited undisclosed relationships that created conflicts of interest. He blamed Lena for all of it. You said this would be discreet, his final text read. Instead, you've ruined both our lives. Then he blocked her number. Lena sat in the guest room, her temporary space in what used to be her home, and broke down completely. No husband. No boyfriend. No friends. No social standing. From my office down the hall, I heard her crying. I felt nothing. She'd had choices at every step. She'd chosen deception, chosen betrayal, chosen to mock the man who'd loved her. Now she was living with those choices. And I was simply watching karma arrive right on schedule. Sophie appeared at my office door one evening, her eyes red from crying. Mom's not doing well, she said quietly. She's really falling apart. That's unfortunate, I replied, not looking up from my computer. Anthony, please. I know we hurt you. I know I helped her. But she's still my mother. And that's why you should help her find an apartment. I don't have any money. She doesn't either, everything's frozen because of the divorce. I finally looked at her. You're 23 years old. You have a degree. Get a job. I'm trying, but what? You expected to live here rent-free forever? You expected I'd keep paying for your car insurance after you helped your mother steal from me? She flinched. I said I was sorry. Sorry doesn't repair betrayal, Sophie. Sorry is just a word you use when you face consequences. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out my wallet. From it, I took $300 bills and placed them on the desk. That's enough for a bus ticket and a few nights at a motel. Anywhere you want to go. $300? That's it? That's more than you gave me when you were laughing at my expense. Her face crumpled. You're cruel. No, I said quietly. I'm teaching you the lesson your mother never did. Actions have consequences. Value is earned, not entitled. And betrayal comes with a price. She grabbed the money and left without another word. I never saw her again. The divorce hearing was remarkably straightforward. Lena's attorney, a young, inexperienced lawyer she'd found on Google, tried to argue for equal asset division and spousal support. Marcus systematically destroyed every argument. He presented the airline manifests showing her trip with Evan. The hotel receipts for a couple's suite. The voice recording of her laughing about deceiving me. The financial analysis proving $18,000 in embezzled funds. Your Honor, Marcus concluded, Mrs. Hayes didn't just commit adultery. She engaged in systematic financial fraud against her spouse, using funds designated for family emergencies to finance an affair. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, read through the evidence carefully. Then she looked at Lena. Mrs. Hayes, do you dispute any of these facts? Lena's attorney started to speak, but Lena interrupted. Some of those charges weren't for the trip. They were. Mrs. Hayes, the judge said firmly, I'm asking a yes or no question. Are these facts disputed? Silence. No, Lena finally whispered. The judge's ruling was decisive. Divorce granted, fault assigned to Lena. All marital assets awarded to Anthony. No spousal support. Lena responsible for her own legal fees. As we left the courtroom, Lena's attorney pulled her aside. I heard fragments, should never have taken this case, evidence was overwhelming. Marcus and I walked to the parking lot in silence. It's done, he finally said. Yes, I agreed. It's done. 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, my doorbell rang at 9 p.m. Lena stood on the porch, mascara streaked, defeated. Can we talk? She asked. No, I said, starting to close the door. Please, Anthony. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped onto the porch, leaving the door closed behind me. What do you want? You've ruined me, she said, tears streaming. I lost everything. My home, my reputation, my friends. Even Sophie won't talk to me. You've destroyed my entire life. I looked at her for a long moment. No, I said quietly. I didn't destroy you, Lena. You did that yourself. I made a mistake. You made dozens of calculated choices. You stole money we'd saved for emergencies. You lied to my face repeatedly. You mocked me, called me naive and spineless. You conspired with your daughter to hide your betrayal. Those weren't mistakes. Those were decisions. I'm sorry. Sorry is what you say when you accidentally hurt someone. What you did was intentional, systematic, and cruel. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. I loved you, I continued. I would have forgiven mistakes. But you didn't make mistakes. You made choices. Now you're living with them. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. I walked back inside and closed the door. Through the window, I watched her stand there for several minutes before finally walking away. I never saw her again. I sold the house 3 months later. Too many memories, too much history. I needed a clean start. I moved to Portland, Oregon, a city I'd always wanted to live in but Lena had dismissed as too rainy. With the divorce settlement and house sale, I had enough to buy a small condo outright and still have substantial savings. I started a new job at a tech company, made new friends, built a new life. And I did something Lena would never understand. I donated $10,000 to a local organization that helped betrayed spouses rebuild their lives financially and emotionally. Why? The director asked when I handed her the check. Because I know what it's like, I said. To be betrayed by someone you trusted. To have your financial security stolen. To feel naive and foolish. But you fought back. You won. Not everyone can. Some people don't have resources, or evidence, or support. They need help. The donation funded legal consultations for 3 people going through similar situations. One of them sent me a thank you note. Because of you, I found the courage to leave and the resources to protect myself. Thank you for believing survivors. That note meant more than any divorce settlement ever could. I'd turned my betrayal into something meaningful. And that felt like victory. 6 months into my new life in Portland, I received an unexpected email. The sender, Jennifer Walsh, Evan Carter's ex-wife. Mr. Hayes, I hope you don't mind me contacting you. My attorney suggested I reach out regarding financial recovery efforts in my divorce from Evan. I called her that evening. Ms. Walsh, what can I help you with? Please, call me Jen. I wanted to thank you, actually. The documentation you provided to your attorney, the airline records, hotel receipts, everything, your lawyer shared copies with mine as professional courtesy. It helped prove Evan's adultery and his misuse of our joint funds. I'm glad it helped. But there's more. During our divorce proceedings, I discovered that Evan used our joint credit card to pay for some of the Maldives trip expenses. He claimed they were business expenses. That's fraud. Are you pursuing charges? Yes. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to provide your documentation officially, as evidence. I didn't hesitate. Absolutely. Send me the request, and I'll forward everything to your attorney. Within weeks, Jen's divorce attorney had filed criminal fraud charges against Evan. Lena, as his co-conspirator in the affair and recipient of the fraudulent expenses, was named as a co-defendant. I sent my complete evidence file, hundreds of documents, all legally obtained, all time-stamped and verified. The final blow wasn't delivered by me directly. But my documentation made it possible. Justice had a long reach. 1 year after the divorce, I sat on a beach in Oregon, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and crimson. My phone buzzed with a notification, a news article someone had tagged me in. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. Former marketing professional sentenced in fraud case. The article detailed Lena and Evan's sentencing, probation, community service, and restitution payments to both Jen and me. Their professional reputations were destroyed. Their social circles had abandoned them. But what struck me most was the final paragraph. When asked for comment, the defendant's victims declined to elaborate, with Anthony Hayes stating simply, "I've moved forward. I hope they find peace eventually." I didn't remember saying that to any reporter, but Marcus must have provided a statement on my behalf. And it was true. I closed the article and set my phone face down in the sand. A year ago, I'd been humiliated, betrayed, called naive and spineless. I'd been the underdog, the fool, the man who should have saved more. Now I was free. I had a career I loved, a city that felt like home, friends who valued honesty, and a life built on my own terms. Lena had tried to board a better life with my money, my trust, and my dignity. She thought she was escaping something boring and predictable. Instead, she'd lost everything real and gained nothing but consequences. I didn't destroy her. I simply stopped saving her from herself. The sun broke fully over the horizon, warm and brilliant. I took a sip of coffee and smiled, not with bitterness or satisfaction, but with genuine peace. Revenge had never been the goal. Truth was. Justice was. Self-respect was. And I'd found all three. A message notification appeared on my phone. I glanced at it. "Lena Hayes is trying to send you a message. Accept." I didn't even hesitate. Delete. Block. Move forward. The ocean waves rolled in, steady and eternal, washing away footprints in the sand. I stood, stretched, and walked along the shoreline. Behind me, the past dissolved with each wave. Ahead, the future stretched open and bright. And for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Free. Whole. At peace. The story they'd written about the naive, boring husband had a different ending than they'd planned. Not because I sought revenge. But because I chose truth. And truth, I'd learned, was the most powerful weapon of all. 3 years later, I received a letter forwarded from my old address. It was from Sophie. "Anthony, I know I don't deserve a response, but I wanted you to know, I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught or faced consequences, but because I understand now what we did to you. I'm in therapy, working through why I thought betrayal was acceptable. I have a job, an apartment, and I'm learning what integrity actually means. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that the lesson you taught me, that actions have consequences, changed my life. Thank you for that, even though I didn't deserve the mercy of that final $300. I hope you found happiness. You deserve it. Sophie." I read it twice, then filed it away. I didn't respond. Some lessons are complete in themselves. Some bridges stay burned. And that's okay. I returned to my life, my real life, with no regrets and no looking back. The sunrise was waiting. And I was free to enjoy it.